Life does not warn us before it changes. Sometimes, the people that hates us the most become the ones who push us into our destiny. This is the story of Neka, a young girl abandoned by her own father after her stepmother filled his heart with bitterness and lies. She walked into the streets with nothing but tears, pain, and a small bag, but she did not know that the road life forced her onto would lead her to greatness. This is a story of betrayal, survival, kindness, and unexpected blessings. A story that reminds us that rejection is not the end. Sometimes, it is the beginning of a bigger plan. Before we begin, my people, if you love powerful African stories like this, stories of life, destiny, and lessons, please hit the subscribe button. Turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any new episodes. Your support helps this channel grow and allows us to bring you more emotional and inspiring stories every time. The sun was setting behind the small village of Umwagu when Neka realized her life was about to change forever. Her father's house used to feel warm, a place where she laughed with her mother, a place where songs filled the evening air, a place where she believed love lived. But ever since her mother died, everything had begun to fade. Her father, once a gentle man who carried her on his shoulders, slowly lost himself in grief. And the emptiness in the house created space for someone else. That someone was Madame Ezine. The whole village already knew her story: beautiful face, sharp tongue, and a heart that did not bend easily. She married Neka's father quickly, too quickly, as if her shadow had already been waiting at the doorstep. From the very first day she entered the house, she looked at Neka like she was an intruder. "Why is she still here?" she asked her husband that same night. Her father brushed it off. But Madame Ezine did not forget. She began with small insults. "Lazy girl. Your presence irritates me. You eat too much for someone who brings nothing." Then the insults grew into lies. Whenever anything went missing, foodstuff, money, even a piece of cloth, Madame Ezine would run to her husband crying, "Your daughter did it. She wants to destroy me." And her father, he believed every word. He stopped talking to Neka. He stopped listening to her explanations. He stopped seeing the tears she hid. One evening, the argument began over something small, a missing piece of dried fish. Madame Ezine stormed into the sitting room, shouting loud enough for neighbors to hear. "I cannot stay in this house with that girl. She is a witch. She hates me." Neka stood in the corner, trembling. Her father looked at her with eyes she did not recognize anymore, cold, tired, and filled with frustration. "Papa, I didn't take anything," she whispered, voice shaking. But Madame Ezine screamed over her. "If you don't throw her out, I will pack my things and leave this marriage today." Her father rose slowly. His face hardened. He grabbed Neka's small bag and stuffed her few clothes inside. Neka reached forward, desperate. "Papa, please, where do you want me to go?" He did not answer. He pulled her toward the door. Neighbors watched silently from their windows. Nobody came out. Madame Ezine stood behind them with folded arms, victory glowing in her smile. When her father opened the door, cold night air blew against Neka's face. He dropped the bag at her feet. For a moment, he hesitated. For a moment, he looked like the father she used to know. But only for a moment. Then he said the words that shattered her heart. "Leave. You have caused enough trouble. I don't want to hear your name again." Neka froze. Her knees weakened. Her breath stopped. "Papa," she whispered. He closed the door. Firmly. Finally. Completely. Neka stared at the door for a long time, hoping it would open again, even a little, even by mistake. But the house remained silent. The world around her seemed to grow colder. Even the moon looked dimmer that night. She picked up her small bag, hugged it to her chest, and walked away slowly. No destination, no family, no hope, just a broken heart and a long, dark road ahead. The morning after Neka was thrown out felt heavier than any night she had ever lived through. She woke beside the roadside, her head resting on her small bag, her body cold from the night breeze. The ground beneath her was damp, and the early traders passing by didn't even look in her direction. Her stomach growled. She had eaten nothing since the previous afternoon. She stood up slowly and walked toward the marketplace, not because she had anywhere to go, but because the market was the only place where she could feel human voices around her, even if none were meant for her. The market of Umwagu was waking up. Women tied wrappers around their waists, setting up their stalls. Men pushed wheelbarrows. Children chased each other between the shops. But Neka, she had no stall, no goods, no family. Only a corner under a mango tree where she sat, hoping for kindness. She stretched her hands to passers-by. Some walked by like she was invisible. Some hissed. Some shook their heads. Once in a while, a kind soul dropped a coin or a piece of bread. Hours passed. Her voice grew weak. "Please, help me, anything," she whispered. But the world kept moving. By afternoon, the sun became merciless, burning her skin, drying her lips. She leaned her head against the tree trunk, too tired to lift her hand again. Then something caught her eye. An elderly woman was walking toward the market entrance, struggling with a heavy tray filled with vegetables, palm oil bottles, and dried fish. Her steps were shaky. Her back bent under the weight. Twice, she stopped to breathe. Her hands trembled. People passed her without stopping, each focused on their own troubles. But Neka stood up immediately. Her legs were weak, but her heart was strong. She ran toward the old woman. "Mama, wait, let me help you," she said, holding the tray before it slipped. The woman turned and looked at her, surprised, grateful, and exhausted. "My daughter, thank you. God will bless you," she said softly. Together, they walked to the woman's small market table. Neka arranged the goods carefully, wiped the woman's sweat with the edge of her own cloth, and fetched a stool for her to sit. The old woman watched her closely. Something about the girl's spirit touched her deeply, the gentleness, the humility, the sadness hidden behind her eyes. When Neka finished arranging the goods, she tried to walk back to her mango tree corner, but the woman called her. "My daughter, come here." Neka stopped, shy and unsure. "What is your name?" the woman asked. "Neka," she replied softly. The woman reached out and held her hand. "Neka, why were you begging on the roadside?" Neka felt tears rise in her eyes, but she swallowed them down. "Mama, I have nowhere to go." The woman's eyes filled with sadness. "What happened? Who pushed a child like you into the street?" Neka hesitated, but something in the old woman's voice felt safe, like a mother she never had the chance to know. So she told her everything. How her mother died, how her father changed, how her stepmother accused her of everything, how the door was shut in her face. By the time she finished, the woman had tears sliding silently down her cheeks. She pulled Neka closer and hugged her like she had waited years to hold someone. "My daughter," she whispered, "you will not sleep on the street again. Not as long as my eyes are open." Neka froze. She couldn't believe what she heard. The woman continued, "My name is Mama Uzo. I live alone. My only son traveled abroad many years ago and never returned. People say he is dead, but only God knows." She wiped her eyes. "Come with me. I cannot leave a child like you on the street. Whoever abandoned you, lost a treasure." Neka's tears fell freely for the first time since she was thrown out. Not the tears of pain she had carried for days, but tears of relief. That evening, after the market closed, Neka carried Mama Uzo's goods home. She expected a small, poor hut. But what she saw was a modest but peaceful compound, filled with mango trees, clay pots, and the smell of old memories. Mama Uzo opened the door. From today, she said softly, this is your home. Neka stepped inside, and for the first time in a long time, she felt safe. Life in Mama Uzo's compound was slow, peaceful, and full of small miracles that Neka had never known. On her first morning there, she woke up to the smell of freshly boiled yam and palm oil stew. When she stepped outside the small room Mama Uzo gave her, she saw the old woman sitting on a wooden chair, smiling. My daughter, come and eat, she said warmly. No one had called her daughter since her mother died. Neka's heart softened. They ate together, quietly at first. But slowly, the silence turned into conversation, and conversation into laughter. For the first time in years, Neka felt like she belonged somewhere. Days turned into weeks, and Neka became the strength Mama Uzo never knew she would have again. She woke before sunrise to sweep the compound. She fetched water from the stream. She prepared breakfast and helped Mama Uzo get ready for the market. In the evenings, she washed clothes, cooked, and massaged the old woman's tired legs. Neighbors watched with surprise. Some whispered, that girl is a blessing. Look how she cares for the old woman. Even biological children don't do this much. Others wondered where she came from. But Mama Uzo never hid the truth. God sent her to me, she told anyone who asked. On the day I thought I had nobody, he gave me a daughter. And in Neka's heart, the old woman slowly became Mama in every way that mattered. One evening, after they had eaten supper, Neka noticed a framed photograph sitting on a wooden shelf, the picture of a handsome young man, smiling brightly. She picked it up. Mama, who is this? Mama Uzo's face changed. Soft sadness filled her eyes. She took the picture gently. My son, Uzo, she said. He traveled abroad many years ago to look for a better life. He promised to return, but he never did. Neka sat beside her. Do you hear from him? She asked. Mama shook her head. No letter. No call. Nothing. She sighed deeply, wiping her eyes. Some people say he is dead. Some say he ran away and forgot me. But a mother's heart, it never stops hoping. She touched Neka's cheek. Even if my son returns one day, he will still find me alive because of you. Neka held her hand tightly. Mama, I'm not going anywhere. The old woman smiled, and for the first time in a long time, she slept peacefully. Everyone in the market soon knew Neka. She arranged Mama's goods so neatly that customers always gathered around their table. She smiled kindly. She greeted elders respectfully. She helped other traders without expecting anything in return. One afternoon, a woman told Mama Uzo, your daughter is well trained. God will bless her. She will never suffer. Mama Uzo lifted her chin proudly. She is not my blood, but she is my child. Neka overheard the conversation and tears filled her eyes, not of sadness, but of gratitude. The market became her second home. People protected her, cherished her, and treated her like one of their own. Time moved quietly. The seasons changed. The mango trees dropped their fruits. The harmattan wind came and went. Neka grew from a frightened girl into a graceful young woman, hardworking, humble, and loved by everyone. Meanwhile, far away across the sea, Uzo was living a life full of struggle. He washed plates in kitchens. He cleaned streets at night. He slept in a tiny room with 4 other men. There were days he thought of quitting. Days he went hungry. Days he felt ashamed. But he always remembered one thing: Mama is waiting. He saved every little money he earned, sending none home because he wanted to return with something meaningful, something that would change his mother's life. He did not know that back home, his mother was no longer alone, that a strange girl had taken the role of a daughter, that destiny was quietly weaving a connection between them. One night, as Mama Uzo and Neka sat outside watching the moon, the old woman spoke softly. Neka, if God ever blesses my son and he returns, I want him to meet you. You are the best thing that has happened to me. Neka smiled shyly. Mama, Even if he comes, I will still be here. This is my home now. The old woman held her hand. My daughter, your kindness will open doors for you one day. Doors you never imagined. Neka didn't know what that meant. She simply rested her head on Mama's shoulder. The morning started like every other ordinary day. Neka swept the compound. She warmed water for Mama Uzo's bath. She prepared akara and pap for breakfast. Then they both headed to the market with their usual laughter and mother-daughter jokes. Nothing about that morning hinted that destiny was standing at their doorstep. Later that afternoon, after selling most of their goods, Mama Uzo felt unusually tired. My daughter, let's close early, she said. Neka quickly packed the remaining vegetables and dried fish. They walked home slowly, chatting about small things, the noisy market women, the new yam harvest, and the stubborn goat that always ate people's cassava. But as they approached the compound, they stopped. A black SUV was parked in front of their gate, shiny, expensive, and out of place in the quiet village road. Neka looked at Mama Uzo. Mama, are you expecting anybody? Mama shook her head slowly. My daughter, I know nobody that drives this kind of car. Before they could take another step, the car door opened. A tall, well-built young man stepped out. He looked around the compound as if he was remembering a dream. His shirt was neatly ironed, and his watch glimmered in the sun. But his eyes carried years of pain and struggle. When he saw the two women, he froze. Mama Uzo felt her heart jump violently. She blinked, stared, held her breath. Uzo, Uzo. Her voice cracked. The young man took a small step forward. Then another. Tears pooled in his eyes as he whispered, Mama, it's me. The sound of that word, Mama, broke whatever strength was left in her. She screamed. She dropped the basket she was holding. Vegetables scattered on the ground. She ran toward him, crying loudly. My son, my son, my son. He caught her in his arms, holding her tightly, as if afraid she would vanish if he let go. Neighbors poured out of their houses, gasping, smiling, whispering, it is him. Uzo has returned. God has finally answered the old woman. It became a small celebration right on the road. Mama Uzo cried uncontrollably, touching her son's face, his chest, his arms, making sure he was real. My child, they said you were dead. They said I should stop hoping. But I refused. Uzo held her face gently. Mama, I suffered. I struggled. I almost gave up many times, but the thought of you kept me alive. Neka stood quietly, watching the emotional reunion with tears in her eyes. She had never seen a mother and son love each other so deeply. After the excitement calmed down, they all went inside. Uzo looked around the house. Every corner reminded him of childhood stories, of laughter, of memories his mother used to tell. Then he noticed Neka. She stood near the doorway, shy and unsure, her hands folded in front of her. Uzo turned to his mother. Mama, who is she? Mama smiled through her tears. She is Neka, the girl God sent to me when I had nobody. She pulled Neka forward lovingly. When I was falling, she held me. When I was weak, she carried me. She became my daughter. Uzo's eyes softened. He watched Neka carefully, her quiet nature, her respectful posture, the humility in her eyes. Thank you for taking care of my mother, he said sincerely. Neka lowered her gaze. I only did what my heart told me, sir. Call me Uzo, he replied with a gentle smile. Her cheeks warmed. The return of Uzo changed the atmosphere of the entire village. Women brought gifts. Men came to greet him. Children followed him around, fascinated by his accent and his car. But inside the house, a new bond was slowly forming. He watched how Neka woke before sunrise to prepare food. How she insisted Mama should sit while she worked. How she always smiled through her tiredness. How she prayed quietly every night. One evening, after dinner, Uzo stayed behind in the kitchen while Neka washed plates. He leaned on the doorway. Neka, he said softly, my mother told me everything, how she found you, how you saved her from loneliness. She paused, unsure what to say. He continued, many people go to the market and look away when they see someone suffering. But you didn't. You saw my mother struggling and you helped her. You didn't know her, but you helped. Neka swallowed hard. Anyone would have done the same, she murmured. Uzo shook his head. No, not everyone. You have a rare heart. She tried to continue washing, but her hands shook slightly. Something warm had begun in the room, something she didn't understand yet. In the days that followed, Uzo found himself drawn to Neka. Not because of her beauty, though she was beautiful in a calm, gentle way, but because of her spirit. She never shouted, never complained, never demanded anything. She worked with grace and loved his mother deeply. One night, Mama Uzo called Uzo aside. My son, she whispered, open your eyes well. The girl in this house is not ordinary. Uzo looked at her, confused. Mama, what do you mean? She smiled knowingly. A daughter that is not your blood, yet she loves you like a wife already. Let your heart see what your eyes cannot. Uzo's heart raced. Because Mama's words matched something he had been trying to ignore, the feeling he got every time Neka walked into a room. One afternoon, Uzo returned from visiting old friends in the village. As he approached the compound, he heard laughter. Mama Uzo was sitting outside while Neka braided her hair. They were talking like true mother and daughter. Something melted inside him. He stopped walking, just watching them, the woman who raised him and the girl who saved her. That was the moment he knew. Not guessed, not wondered, knew. He loved her. Deeply. Quietly. Surely. And he needed to tell her. Very soon. Because destiny had brought him home, not just to see his mother again, but to meet the woman who would change his life forever. Weeks passed after Uzo's return, and the quiet feelings growing between him and Neka became impossible to hide. He watched how she cared for his mother as if she carried her in her heart. She watched how he treated her with kindness she had never known. Mama Uzo watched them both with a knowing smile. One evening, after dinner, Uzo asked Mama Uzo to join him and Neka in the sitting room. His voice was calm but serious. Mama, I want to tell you something important. Mama Uzo looked at him closely. My son, talk. My ears are open. Uzo turned to Neka. She froze, her heartbeat suddenly louder than the ticking wall clock. From the moment I returned, you have shown me love without asking for anything. You took care of my mother when she had no one. You worked like a daughter, prayed like a daughter, loved like a daughter. He took a deep breath. Neka, you are the woman I want to spend my life with. Mama Uzo clapped her hands in joy, tears already rolling. I knew it, she shouted. But Neka was shocked. She covered her mouth with trembling hands. Me, Uzo, marriage, how? I am not worthy. I have nothing. I am only a girl that. Uzo stepped closer and gently held her hands. Don't ever say that. You are the reason my mother is alive and smiling today. You are more valuable than gold. And I want you as my wife. Neka burst into tears, tears of disbelief, tears of joy, tears of a girl who had suffered too much to expect happiness. Mama Uzo placed her hands over theirs. My children, God has done it. What man rejects, God raises. And so, with Mama's blessing, the traditional and white wedding was planned. But because of the rejection, she suffered earlier from her father and stepmother, Neka chose her maternal home for the ceremony. The ceremony was small but beautiful. Women danced. Drummers beat their talking drums. Villagers shouted, Uzo, well done. Neka is a good girl. Mama Uzo, congratulations. Neka wore a simple but elegant wrapper and blouse. Uzo looked proud, like a man whose dreams had come true. As they exchanged vows, tears flowed freely. Mama Uzo lifted her hands. Thank you, God. My son came back, and he didn't come back empty. He came with a wife. The entire village rejoiced, but one place remained silent. One place destiny had not forgotten. The house where Neka had been thrown out. A week after the wedding, Uzo made a decision. Neka, it is time to close the chapter of your past. She swallowed hard. She had buried that memory for years, but now her husband wanted to face it with her. He held her hand firmly. You will not go there as the abandoned child. You will not go there as the girl they rejected. You will go there as my wife, a respected woman. They took the black SUV and drove to her old home. Neighbors noticed the car and whispered, "Is that not Neka? She came back in a rich man's car." God is wonderful. When they reached the house, Neka's father came out, confused and nervous. Madame Ezine stood beside him, shocked. Uzo stepped out of the car first. Then Neka followed, confident, beautiful, no longer the scared girl they had thrown out. Madame Ezine's mouth dropped open. Her father trembled. Neka, is that you? Neka didn't rush. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. She stood tall. Papa, you threw me out. You believed lies. You didn't care where I slept or whether I lived. Her father fell to his knees. My daughter, forgive me. I was blind. I was foolish. Forgive me. Even Madame Ezine knelt and started crying. Neka, my daughter. Neka lifted her hand gently. I am not your daughter. But I forgive you. I forgive you both. Because God lifted me higher than you ever imagined. She didn't say it with pride. She said it with peace. Uzo stepped beside her. My wife will not be treated as a beggar again. From today, she belongs to a family that values her. The neighbors clapped. Some shouted, God has vindicated her. This is justice. Let all wicked stepmothers learn. Her father wept, but Neka simply said, live your life in peace. I hold no anger anymore. Then she and her husband returned to their car. As they drove away, the entire village watched with admiration. Back home, Mama Uzo waited at the door. When she saw them, she smiled proudly. My daughter, how did it go? Neka hugged her tightly. Mama, I forgave them. I am free now. Mama nodded. Good. A heart that forgives will never lack blessings. Uzo wrapped his arms around both women. And in that moment, Neka realized something. Home was not where she was born. Home was where she was loved. She looked at her husband. She looked at Mama Uzo. She looked at the life ahead. A life she had earned through kindness, humility, and faith. And she whispered, thank you God for turning my pains into joy.